everybody, Agashi here. So today I will be doing the ending review of He Is Psychometric. It had finally come to an end with a total of 16 episodes, and yes, a lot of us aren't happy with the ending, but it did leave us an open ending. But I'll do recap on where I left you guys off, and I will jump into it and give you guys what my thoughts of the ending are. So first, let's recap on the characters again. We have Park Jinyoung from GOT7 playing Leon. He's a young man with supernatural powers, and he lost his parents in a fire when he was young. Shin Ye-in as Yoon Jae-in, a young woman with a hidden secret. She meets Leon after transferring to the new school. Kim Dam-sung as Eun Ji-soo. She is the investigator of the Special Investigation Unit, and she often asks Leon to help her because of his psychometric abilities. Kim Kwang as Kang Sang-mo. He is a prosecutor for the Special Investigation Unit, and he is also the one who saved young Leon when they were little, and he knows about Leon's ability. So I already did the first review on the first 2 episodes, so I'm going to carry on with episode 3 until the end. So this is when Jae-in already found out about Leon's ability, his psychometric ability, and she wants him to use it on her so that he can help her prove that her father is not guilty. As you guys remember, he's in jail given the death sentence because they said he's the one who set the Yongsan apartment on fire 11 years ago. But she's afraid of him being able to see it and see other things, because it's not only that Leon is able to see that, he can see other things like people's hidden secrets and people's thoughts and all the or whatever happens to them that is in their memory. So she's not ready for it, and he promised her that he will not touch her until she's ready. In the meantime of Leon and Jae-in meets, Sang-mo and Jisoo works together on the Hami home care fire, and Jisoo finds this very similar to the Yongsan apartment incident that happened 11 years ago. So she decides to, dig up in it, and her father is not happy about it because her father, Eun Byung-ho, is actually the one who was in charge of the Yongsan apartment case back then, and he's the one who closed the case. So he feels like, he tells his daughter, Jisoo is his daughter, so he tells his daughter, do you think your father didn't do a good job? But she's taking it as, probably the culprit, because her father never caught the culprit probably had rise up again and caused the same incident like how the culprit did 11 years ago to this home care fire one. And in doing so, they get a witness, Kim Gap-young, and he suddenly died, and they don't know what happened to him. And this bothers Sang-mo, and when he found Kim Gap-young's body, he was chained up and stabbed in the left stomach area, which kind of triggers some memories of to Sang-mo back to us. So do you guys remember the math teacher from episode 1 and 2 that Jae-in went up against? Well, he lost his job, and he decides to come back and get back his revenge at Jae-in by revealing her secret that her father is the one who created the fire back then to the Yongsan apartment. This scares her, and she runs off, and she leaves a message behind for Leon, and hopefully that they will meet again in the future. And then we get 2 years fast forward immediately. Leon goes and take the law enforcement exam, and he ends up meeting Jae-in there, and she tells him that she's a cop now, and she's doing really good and stuff like that. But honestly, she's actually just a very small patrol cop in a small town running simple errands job for the town, and there's no promotion where she's at. She literally, that is the town where she ends up living, eating there, sleeping there, working there all day, all night, and she has no promotion, she has nowhere, and her career isn't going to improve from there. So throughout these episodes, and when we get to like episode 5 and 6 there, at the beginning of every episode we do get a little intro giving us pieces and pieces of the stories from young Sangmo, young Leon, and young Jaehyun's point of view. So like we see young Jaehyun with her father when he is a security guard at the Youngsan apartment. He leaves to go put up flyers and the fire goes off. On the other hand, we see young Sangmo and his mother trying to escape from someone they're afraid of, and this person, I'm just gonna title them as the culprit, and like they're afraid of the culprit and they're like on the run. And then we get young Leon spending time with his parents, having fun, and how he wishes to be like his father, who is a cop and does, great work and bring justice to everyone. Well, these three, their paths has crossed once when they were young, and once again it crosses again now, and like Sangmo and Leon are like brothers. They live together, and Jaehyun crosses paths with the two of them again. We also find out that Leon has never been able to read Sangmo this whole time, and no matter what he does, he cannot read Sangmo, and apparently he suffered from this something. I don't know, but he suffers from something, and it is basically a person who cannot feel or perceive any emotion, and so therefore he tells people he takes medication for his headaches, but it's their thinking that it's because he doesn't have feelings and stuff like that. That's why he's taking medication to help him. And it finally gets revealed to us throughout the whole, Hami home care fire, who the culprit is. And the culprit is actually Kang Gu-taek, and he is Kang Sangmo's father. Well, a little heads up throughout the review, I just find it easier to call him the culprit because he's also a Kang, Sangmo's a Kang, the mom's a Kang. There's a bunch of them that are Kang, and they get confusing. So we'll label Kang Gu-taek as the culprit from now on. So with the culprit following Sangmo around a lot, Leon actually catches on and figure out that there's someone following Sangmo, and he ends up chasing after the culprit, and the culprit ends up stabbing him. And when the culprit stabbed Leon, he was able to touch a part of the culprit's skin, and you get to see Leon's ability changes a little bit more, where this whole time he hasn't been able to see much, but just little glimpses here and there, and like the pieces are really broken. He doesn't know what he sees, but this is the first time where we actually see Leon's ability can do more than that. And when he really focuses his mind and puts into it, he can see and he's able to read way back. So by touching the culprit during the time the culprit stabbed him, he was able to go back 11 years ago and was able to determine that this person has been following his home for so long now. So Leon eventually ends up in the hospital. He gets better, he gets out, and his home assigns Jaehyun to help him improve his abilities by teaching him more terms so he understands, and solutions, and if he was to get into a situation, how would he solve it, how would he get out, so that when he uses his ability, he can understand and be able to see more, instead of just like how he did in the beginning of just seeing random things, and it doesn't make sense, when he's all proud of it, but it doesn't make sense. So Leon and Jaehyun ends up working together, and Jisoo, she becomes a part of this Hami care case too, and with them working together, she finds out that someone ends up putting them together. It's because someone purposely want them to meet, which it worries her a little bit, because these two kids, they don't know anything, and they're just kind of like always getting in trouble, and she's always there to help them, which they do end up getting in trouble. They do end up tying in with the Dragon headhunting company, and they are a human trafficking business, and this is where it ties in Kim Gam-young, Kang Hee-soo, and Park Soo-young. And so these names and these people over there at this place, they create fake identities for you, and you can use it as long as you work for them. You become a part of their members. They give you fake identities, and you can travel around. You can do whatever with these fake identities. And Leon and Jaein was able to crack into it just a little bit before Sungmo and Jisoo was getting into it. So this got them to become very suspicious because they find out, more so Leon finds out that the real Kang Hee-suk and Park Soo-young died already, and someone else is using their identity out there, so they're alive out there, but with his vision, his abilities, he already saw them dead. So this gets Jisoo to like really dig into this case of like, what is actually going on now, you know? This person, Kim Ga-young, was at the Hami home care, and he was at the fire helping people, but he's also tied back to this dragon headhunting too. So by the time we hit episode 8 is when Leon admits his feeling to Jaein. So throughout this time, they've been having little moments here and there, and he admits his feelings to her, and he was able to, like, you know, see that she likes him too, you know, without her actually admitting her feelings to him, you know. So a little cheat thing Leon does, he can actually do that, and he does it for his friend Taebong, which we will get into details of who Taebong is later. So as we speak of, you know, all these good things happening to Leon and Jaein, we get the culprit who has been watching Jaein from far away, and he's been trying to stay out of CCTV cameras and stuff like that so that he doesn't get caught, and so it gets us very suspicious. But at the same time, you know, Sungmo is actually watching the culprit too. Like, someone knows the culprit is stalking him down. The culprit ends up like putting a camera in front of Sungmo and Leon's apartment complex, but you know, he knows who this guy is. He found this guy's location. He was able to get information off of this guy and all these stuff, and he realized it's just a game he's gonna play with the culprit. But you know, this game that he's playing with the culprit, it pretty much the price you pay is your life. So either Sungmo dies or the culprit dies. Now let's get a little bit into the Jisoo character. As you know, we see her show up, but we don't get much explained about her or anything. And we do get a little bit more explained about her in episode 9. And we get introduced to her past, that she is actually an orphan as well. She met young Leon and young Sungmo at the same orphanage. So the three of them was crossed paths back then. They were also at the same orphanage. And she got adopted by her dad, and her dad is actually the senior of Leon's father in the police academy, and he did something really bad, and it ties back to the YSS construction, which gets explained later on to us. But you know, it just makes you go, oh, he is a bad guy because he was the bad guy in Terrace Behind Me, you know. He ain't gonna be any good in this one too. So at this point, Sungmo is actually doing his own investigation, finding out who killed Kim Ga-young and how all these end up tying together, and figuring out that right before Kim Ga-young got killed, right before he gets killed, he made one last phone call to someone to get Kim Song-hee out into a safe place so that this woman disappears, you know. So Sungmo ends up trying to find out where Kim Song-hee disappears to, and then Jisoo ends up catching along, and she's like wondering why he's keeping secrets. So at this point, like, we already know she has a thing for him, but because he has no feelings, you know, he doesn't show anything towards her, but she's always looking out for him and making sure he doesn't get into danger, or, you know, pretty much always caring about him, and he's always running on her mind, and she always wants to help him. So just when we thought things were going well with Leon and Jaein, and because they spent such a beautiful day together making a musical box and all these things like that, and you know, because he saw a little part of her memory of the musical box her father gave to her, he made a replica one of it and gave it to her, and she was thankful for it, you know. She cried, and when he went to wipe her tear, he saw who her father is. Her father well, more so Leon, when young Leon saw the news of who was behind the Yongsan apartment, and it was Jaehyun's father. Leon remembered who that name is, and Leon hated that person. And when Leon found out that it was actually Jaehyun's father, it upset him even more because he blames everything on her father. That it's everything in the past, his parents' death and everything, is all because of Jaehyun's father. Therefore, it leads him to leaving and pushing Jaehyun behind, and he never wants to see her again. And like, it's so sad because he runs away and he goes and visits his parents, and he's like crying to his parents, and he's like heartbroken because he's like, he's so in love with her, but he cannot accept that her father is the one who caused his parents' death, you know. And he ends up at all these old places like the Yongsan apartment, missing his parents, you know, and all these stuff like that. And during this time of him distancing himself away from Jaehyun, she actually ends up getting captured by the culprit and taken away. And we find out the reason why the culprit took her in the first place was because she is the first person to trigger Sammo to smile. So the culprit believes that Jaehyun is the one to get Sammo to come out and like trigger his emotions and everything, which she isn't. So Leon actually comes back and find out that Jaehyun is kidnapped. He goes to the rescue and save her before she drowns. All is forgiven. They decide to work together to catch the culprit now, since Jaehyun was able to actually see the face of the culprit with Leon touching her. Leon was able to actually see it too, so now they know who and how the culprit looks like. And so Jisoo ends up because during this time of Jaehyun getting drowned, Jisoo has been following Sammo because he suddenly went on leave of absence, and she followed him to figure out what he's up to. And it brought to conclusion of his mother, and so she ends up bringing Leon and Jaehyun into the case to help her. So by the time we hit episode 12, Leon and Jaehyun is already with Jisoo, trying to figure out about what Sammo was up to, what he's actually doing. And we find out that the culprit and Sammo actually know each other. They know each other's move, and like none of them know yet that the culprit is actually Sammo's dad until they actually end up at a construction place, and they find out that there was once a man there working there, and he locked his wife and a child in the basement. Leon enters the basement and was able to see everything. So the mom got locked up by the culprit, and she had lived in that basement. She got pregnant, she was in that basement. Even when she gave birth, her and her baby grew up in that basement until the kid was 9 years old. And that kid was young Sammo. And so they realized that that's why, you know, he has no emotion, and that's how he ties with the culprit. The culprit is his father, and his father is like an emotionless monster, and the mom doesn't want someone to be like that. That's why the mom helped them escape, and they've been running all these years away from the father. And they also find out why the father is so obsessed with the mother is because the father, he cannot feel emotions, he cannot have any feelings and stuff like that. And the mother was actually the very first person to trigger feelings onto the father. Therefore, he became obsessed with her. That's why he chases her, and he's like, he doesn't want anyone else to have her. That's why it made the culprit thought that Jaehyun was the trigger to Sammo, which she's not the trigger to him. So when we get to episode 13 and 14 in there, that's when Leon was able to figure out that Sammo has actually left some information, some breadcrumbs track behind for them so that they can go catch the culprit. And it ended up being some abandoned stations, and they end up there to catch the culprit. But Leon figured out that Sammo led them to the wrong station, and Jisoo ended up at the Kangguk station where she witnessed someone going to kill the culprit, and as she stops in, the culprit actually stabs her and she dies here. So right before she dies, she begs for someone to come back, but he doesn't. And just then, Leon arrives at the Kangguk station, and he ends up chasing after the culprit, catching him, beating the hell out of the guy. And when he's beating up this guy, he's touching this guy, and he's able to see Jisoo's death, and he saw the culprit killing Jisoo. And then he ended up seeing everything. The culprit was at the Youngsam apartment. The culprit was at the Hami home care with the fire. And he also saw the culprit getting beat up by Kim Gang-young and saving the mother. But Leon ends up seeing a little bit more than that. Leon ends up seeing his Hyung, Samo, gets involved with these. So with Leon feeling guilty about Jisoo's death, because he and Jae end up at Segidong station, and Leon ends up sending Jisoo to Kanggong station, which got her killed, and Leon ended up going back to track all the evidence and stuff that the Hyun left behind. It was on purpose to send them to the wrong location. This gets Leon really, really upset, and he starts to see everything, with his anger and determined to everything. He saw that his Hyun has been hiding his mother in Canada. He has been in contact with the mother ever since, and returning back from Canada was only because they needed to kill the culprit. The culprit was still out there, and the culprit was still chasing after the mom. So the Hyun needed to end the culprit so that his mom could live in peace. And the Hyun is actually a VIP guest client to Kim Gang-young, who gives off fake identities to the mom. So, they kill people, they take their identities and give it to people, and someone was actually behind all of this. So at the station, they actually end up catching the mom and bringing her into questioning, and she refused to answer anything, and she rejects anything about meeting her son. And Leon accidentally touched her, where Leon was able to see that she had a conversation with the culprit, and the culprit told the mother that I never set the apartment on fire. It was actually your son who did it, which kind of made Leon oh shoot, what the hell, he's confused now. And then at the same time, we get Samo. He actually caught the culprit. The culprit escaped, and then so he actually caught the culprit, tortured the culprit, and locked him up how he did to his mother and him when they were young. So this is when Lieutenant Nam gets bringing into the picture. We have seen him here and there before in other scenes. He works with Jae-in at the small town, and he was once a part of the police academy, but because of some reasons that happened, he ended up leaving, and he just stayed in that little town. Well, he comes back, and he helps Jae-in and Leon track down Samo, puts the pieces together, and they find out that the medication that Samo said he was taking was actually on purpose to control his emotions so that Leon cannot read him. So, everything is just a mess. Just when everything is a mess, Samo shows up, makes his statements, take out his mother, and he reveals Leon's ability to like everyone. But he also makes a statement that Leon's ability is not solid evidence. He can't prove anything just because he has psychometric abilities. He needs solid evidence to go up against whoever he's going up against. So this upsets Leon very, very much, and leading him to doing his own investigation to find out the truth, to gain solid evidence. So he ends up going to find the culprit, because the culprit can actually be a witness that he didn't set the fire, and it was someone who set the fire on the Yongsan apartment. And before his helm left, Leon was able to get a little more so one last reading from his helm, which it was his helm standing in one spot looking at 3 different buildings. So, as I mentioned before, the YSS construction. So, I'm going to be talking about the YSS construction now because it finally gets introduced to us in episode 15 and 16. So the YSS construction is actually run by many rich people and politicians. The original name was Yongseong, just like the apartment. And to cover up their story of giving bribery to people and stuff like that, they threw Jaehyun's father into the burning the apartment. And so it makes it a big case, and like the YSS construction tries to get away with this stuff, but because Jisoo dig it back up the case again, it put them in a very sticky situation because they can't let the world know what they're up to. And at the same time, Jisoo's father, Byung-hong, he was actually a part of the YSS construction, and he had covered it up back then. That's why he closed the case on the Yongsan apartment so quick. And since with them reinvestigating the Yongsan apartment and the Hami Care fire, it brings back what happens in the past. So the superiors are pushing now prosecutors out there to catch the culprit, and once they catch the culprit, they will end the investigation, which is they're doing that on purpose so that they don't get opened up of what their company is actually doing and what they're trying to cover. So during the time of prosecutors looking for the culprit, Samuel quickly gives his mother her identity back and he disappears. And Leon was able to narrow down the location where Samuel is hiding the culprit, and where he's actually standing to see all these buildings was actually at the Yongsan apartment. And the apartments are vacant, therefore the helm took the culprit there and like pretty much tied up, chained up him. And so Leon and the troop then they rushed to Unit 702. That's where the murder and fire happened 11 years ago, and they find the culprit, take him away, and Leon was able to see more than he was supposed to see. He saw the real crime scene that happened 11 years ago. The young Sunmo was helping his mother escape when the culprit came, and so they had vacated the unit. They vacated the unit already, so it upset the culprit and he ran off. And when someone found out that the culprit was actually going to burn the apartment, he also brought a fake body to use as the mom's identity. So it looked like the mom died in the fire, but the truth was he's going to take the mom away and locked her up again for himself. So someone ends up carrying the suitcase with Jaehyun's father's coat and murdered the Ajumas in the unit 702. He killed them, planted everything, and created the fire. Everything was his doing. And so Leon figured that out, and Leon was looking for Samuel, and he knows that Samuel is in Leon's old apartment, which is unit 1501. Leon ends up over there and confronting his helm, why his helm did it. And his sons are like, everything was my father's plan. I just carried it out because I just wanted to end it all and save my mother and I. But the reason why the helm ended up saving Leon was when he created that fire and he tried to escape. He saw how scared Leon was and how his parents died, that it triggered feelings to Samuel. He felt scared, he felt guilty, and he needed to help Leon. That's why he helped Leon, and that's why he raised Leon up and did all these things. So Leon was actually the trigger to Samuel's feelings. So they have these conversations, and like Leon is just crying because he doesn't know what to say. This Hyun who raised him up was actually the real culprit who killed his parents, And so after the conversation, someone gets arrested, and just when we think that's the end, it is not. The YSS construction kicks in, and they try to bail out Samuel because Samuel has something that belongs to them. So do you guys remember back in the dragon headhunting, Samuel actually took an accounting book that holds a lot of their information, hold all the people they bribe and all the people that are part of the YSS corrupted construction stuff. And so he doesn't want to get billed out, and he ends up passing a message to Leon saying the past, present, and future. And that triggers to Leon because it was a painting that Leon has chosen for someone long ago, and that was where the accounting book was hidden. It was behind the canvas. Leon was able to bring that out And in the home, since he didn't do justice and got his daughter killed, he took all the blame and revealed everything of the YSS construction. So YSS construction got confiscated, and In Hong got arrested. The culprit, the dad, he got a death sentence, and Samo ends up in prison for 13 years. And that was not it. We get fast forward a year later, things are going well. Jae-in and Lieutenant Nam are working well together. Leon is studying hard so that he can join them. Jae-in's father is back and he's out. He's living happily with them. Leon finally visits Samo, and he tells Leon he's sorry for everything he did and hope one day things go well for Leon, and just so Leon knows that he cares and actually loved Leon before. That's why he did, he took care of Leon all this time. And then remember when I mentioned Taebong? So Taebong is actually Leon's only friend. We get to see little parts of him throughout the drama. So in one part we learn about Taebong's past and how he became Leon's friend. Taebong gets beat up a lot by his father, and it was a very, very painful memory for Taebong. And Taebong accidentally met Leon, and Leon touched him, and Leon was able to see him being beat up by his father, and Leon stood up for him. And that's how Taebong realized that, Leon was strong enough, determined enough to stood up against his father. And that's when Taebong learned about his abilities, and they became friends, and they've been friends since then. And Taebong had a crush on So-hyun, and So-hyun became a single mother as a senior in high school. And she plays hard to get because she's young and she has a child. Things didn't go well for her when she was young, but eventually she accepts them and they get together. So just when we think it's the end and things are going well with Leon and Jae-in, no, they walking down this street, strolling down the street, they meet a guy passing flyers, and it's about a lawsuit against a medical malpractice of a death case. And Leon accidentally touched the guys passing out flyers, and Leon was able to see some stuff, and Jae-in's like, are you ready to take on this case, So it gives us he just smiles, so it gives us an open ending that, that's like his next case he was going to take on, because, ever since the whole Youngsun apartment, they haven't been able to get onto big cases like this. Besides little small cases they work on, they do, and this is something big that they are going to work on, and that gives us the ending, but it's gives us what things continue on for them. So yes, that is it for He Is Psychometric. It ended like that, and I'll be very honest, at first I thought it was a great drama. I enjoyed it, I loved it. It was something new, interesting to be watching, and I actually really like it. And I didn't think that Jinyoung from GOT7 would be able to act like this. I saw him a while back in My Love and Dong, but I've actually never watched this drama, and watching the trailer kind of triggered me to, ooh, this is interesting, let's watch it. And I ended up watching it, liking it, but I did feel like they slowed things a little bit in the beginning, and everything just came kind of crashing down at the end, and how they turned the Hyun into a bad guy when things could have turned out well for him and Jisoo, and it didn't. So but overall it was a really good drama. I really like it. I actually don't have much to say about it, besides it was very interesting for them to do something like this, so hopefully Jinyoung gets another drama with a little bit more solid ending to end us, instead of open endings. At sometimes I don't really like open endings. It just makes you go, really, seriously, could you just end it happily? It's drama land, like fairy tale stuff. Just give us a happy ending, or forever break our heart like Scarlet Heart, and give us a crappy ending. Don't give us open ending. But yes, yeah, that is it for this drama review. And next time Jinyoung has a new drama, and if I like it, most likely I'll end up watching it. I will review it with you guys, but until the next drama review, I will see you guys.